The crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber sparkled with the reflection of 1,000 stars. Aurelia's 3 moons cast their ethereal glow through the translucent ceiling, bathing the assembled delegates in pale blue light. Ambassador Alara Miles stood at the central podium, her emerald ceremonial robes flowing around her slender frame. As the first human to hold the chair of the Prime Committee, she had spent 3 years building bridges between species that had once been at war. "Distinguished delegates," she began, her voice clear and measured. "For 3 millennia, our council has been the beacon of interstellar cooperation. Through our unity, we have witnessed the birth of new stars and the peaceful evolution of 100 civilizations." The chamber hummed with the soft clicks, whistles, and harmonic tones of universal translators. Representatives from across the galaxy, some humanoid, others defying conventional physical forms, gave Alara their attention. Among them sat the luminous beings of the light breeds, their bodies pulsing with internal radiance, the Steel People, with their metallic exoskeletons reflecting the chamber's light in geometric patterns, and the ethereal spectral kind, whose translucent forms shifted constantly like smoke caught in gentle wind. "Today marks the 10th millennium since the Great Convergence," Alara continued, "when our ancestors discovered that the universe is not merely a void to be conquered, but a tapestry to be woven together. Our strength lies not in uniformity, but in our differences, in peace through diversity." From the central viewing platform, a holographic image materialized, the cosmic rainbow, a massive interstellar tunnel system that connected the member worlds. The structure's prismatic pathways glowed with psychedelic energy, pulsing like arteries of a living organism. "The cosmic rainbow stands as our greatest achievement," Alara said, her voice swelling with pride. "Not merely a feat of engineering, but a testament to what we can accomplish when we transcend our differences." The assembly erupted in appreciative murmurs, all except one section, the Earth delegation. Their seats were conspicuously empty, save for one man. Administrator Julian Vox, who sat rigidly in his chair, his expression unreadable. As the applause subsided, Alara noticed Julian rise. Something in his posture made her heart sink. "The chair recognizes Administrator Vox of Earth," she announced, maintaining diplomatic composure. Julian stepped forward, his austere gray uniform a stark contrast to the colorful attire of the other delegates. He placed a data crystal on the transmission plate before him, and a formal document projected above the chamber. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice devoid of emotion. "By authority vested in me by the unified Earth government, I hereby submit our formal notice of withdrawal from the Galactic Council, effective immediately." The chamber exploded in chaos. Representatives rose from their seats, some shouting in their native languages, others turning to their neighbors in disbelief. The light breeds flared so brightly that the chamber's automatic filters engaged to protect the other delegates' vision. "Order!" Alara commanded, striking her ceremonial staff against the crystal floor. The sound reverberated through the chamber, gradually restoring calm. "Administrator Vox, the Council requires an explanation for this unprecedented action." Julian's face remained impassive. "The Council no longer represents the will of humanity. For centuries, we have compromised our values, diluted our identity, and sacrificed our autonomy for the sake of galactic harmony. The cost has become too great. Earth wishes to chart its own course among the stars." Alara felt as though the air had been sucked from her lungs. As both council chair and a human, she was caught between worlds. "Has the Earth government considered the ramifications of this decision?" she asked, struggling to keep her voice steady. "The protection treaties, the trade agreements, the knowledge exchanges, all would be nullified." "We have," Julian replied coldly. "Humanity survived alone for thousands of years before we encountered other species. We will survive alone again. The Steel Ambassador, General Cale Thorne, rose from his seat. His metallic form caught the light as he moved, casting prismatic reflections across the chamber. "This is galactic irresponsibility," he declared, his mechanized voice vibrating with indignation. "Humans have always been impulsive, but this exceeds all previous demonstrations of your species' immaturity." From the shadows at the edge of the chamber, a whisper-thin voice added, "Perhaps they know something we do not." All heads turned toward the source, Liara, emissary of the spectral kind. Her form shimmered, half visible in the chamber's light. Unlike the other council members, the spectrals rarely participated in open debate, preferring to observe and comment only at critical junctures. "What are you implying, emissary?" Alara asked. Liara's form shifted, becoming slightly more substantial. "Only that sudden departures often have hidden causes. The human delegation has been unusually quiet in recent sessions." Julian's jaw tightened. "Our reasons are our own. The decision is final." As the delegates erupted in another wave of protests, Alara stood motionless at the podium. A question burned in her mind. Will leaving save humanity's soul, or merely leave us alone in the darkness? The formal session adjourned in disarray, but the corridors of the Aurelian Council Palace buzzed with tense conversations. Alara retreated to her private chambers, her mind racing. As both chair of the council and a daughter of Earth, she felt torn between loyalties. The crystalline walls of her quarters changed color with her mood. Currently, a turbulent blend of deep blue and stormy gray. She dismissed her aides and stood before the panoramic window overlooking Aurelia's glass landscape. The planet's surface was a marvel of natural crystalline formations, shaped over billions of years by the solar winds of 3 surrounding stars. "Computer, secure the room," she commanded. "Room secured, Ambassador," the AI responded. "All recording devices deactivated." Alara removed her ceremonial robes, revealing the simple black jumpsuit beneath. She pressed her palm against a hidden panel in the wall, revealing a secure communication terminal. "Connect to Earth Central, Diplomatic Channel, Authorization Miles Omega 7. The holographic display flickered to life, and after several moments of encryption, algorithm cycling, the stern face of Director Helena Shaw appeared. "Alara," Helena acknowledged, her expression giving nothing away. "I assume you're calling about Administrator Vox's announcement." "Was I supposed to be blindsided in front of the entire council?" Alara demanded, her diplomatic facade crumbling. "I'm the chair of the Prime Committee. Helena, I deserved warning." "The decision was made at the highest levels," Helena replied. "Compartmentalization was essential." "Essential for what? Do you understand what you've done? Humanity has spent centuries building our position in the Council. We've gained access to technologies, medicines, knowledge." "And lost what in return?" Helena interrupted. "Our independence? Our cultural identity? Look at yourself. Alara, you wear their robes, speak their diplomatic language. When was the last time you set foot on Earth?" Alara fell silent. It had been 3 years since her last visit home, a brief appearance at her father's funeral. She had been too busy mediating disputes between the crystalline hive and the methane dwellers to stay longer. "The Council needs Earth," Alara finally said. "And whether Earth admits it or not, we need the Council." Helena leaned forward. "There are forces at work in the Council that you don't understand. Forces that threaten humanity's very existence." "What are you talking about?" "I can't say more over any channel. Even this one." Helena's voice dropped to a whisper. "Look to the rainbow. Alara. The answers are there." The communication terminated abruptly, leaving Alara staring at an empty display. The cosmic rainbow? What could Helena possibly mean? A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. Someone requesting entry. Alara quickly closed the hidden panel and composed herself. "Identity?" she asked. "General Cale Thorne," the computer responded. Alara hesitated. The Steel People were known for their direct approach and martial perspective. As military commander of the Council's peacekeeping forces, Kale had always been skeptical of diplomacy. Admit him, she decided. The door slid open to reveal Kale's imposing figure. Nearly 8 feet tall, his metallic body gleamed with the characteristic blue steel sheen of his species' highest military caste. His face, designed to approximate humanoid features for diplomatic interactions, remained largely expressionless, though the apertures that served as his eyes contracted slightly as he entered. "Ambassador," he said, his voice a resonant baritone that seemed to vibrate from somewhere deep within his chassis. "I apologize for the intrusion." "No intrusion, General," Alara replied, gesturing to a seating area. "Though I admit I'm surprised by your visit." Kale remained standing. The Steel People rarely sat, as their bodies were not designed for comfort, but for function. "The Council is in disarray," he stated flatly. 7 delegations have already requested emergency sessions to discuss possible sanctions against Earth. Alara sighed. That would only push humanity further away. "I agree," Kale's response surprised her. "Which is why I have come. Despite my earlier words in the chamber, I believe Earth's withdrawal may be symptomatic of a deeper problem within the Council itself." Alara studied the general carefully. The Steel People were not known for subtlety or political maneuvering. Their directness was both their greatest strength and their diplomatic weakness. "What kind of problem?" she asked. Kale's internal mechanisms whirred softly as he moved closer. "Information has been compartmentalized, resources diverted, Council decisions implemented without full committee review." "By whom?" "That is unclear, but it began approximately 1 Earth year ago, after the discovery of the ancient archives beneath Aurelia's southern hemisphere." Alara's mind raced. The archives, a vast repository of knowledge left by Aurelia's original inhabitants, who had vanished millions of years before. The Council had established a special commission to study the findings, but little information had been made public. "What's in those archives, Kale?" The General's optical apertures contracted to pinpoints. "I do not know. My clearance was revoked 3 months ago, unusual for the head of Council security." A chill ran down Alara's spine. "Something's very wrong here." "Indeed. And I believe Earth's sudden withdrawal may be connected." Alara moved to the window, watching as Aurelia's 3 moons aligned in their monthly conjunction. The crystalline landscape below blazed with refracted moonlight. "Will you help me discover the truth?" she asked, without turning around. Kale's mechanical body emitted a low hum, the steel equivalent of a thoughtful pause. "My primary directive is to protect the Council and its member worlds," he finally said. "If there is corruption within our ranks, it must be exposed, even if the process is unconventional." Alara turned back to him, a determined gleam in her eyes. "Then we'll need to start with the archives." "They are heavily guarded," Kale warned. "Even with my authority, access will be challenging." "Then we'll need a third ally," Alara said. "Someone who can move through secured areas undetected." They both knew who she meant. The spectral kind existed partially out of phase with conventional matter, allowing them to pass through solid objects at will, an ability that made other species deeply uncomfortable. "Liara," Kyle stated, his mechanical features somehow conveying disapproval. "The spectrals cannot be trusted. Their allegiance is to themselves alone." Liara was the only one who suggested Earth might have an unknown reason for leaving. Alara countered. "She suspects something too. Or she knows something and wishes to manipulate us," Kale responded. "Nevertheless, I acknowledge the tactical advantage her abilities would provide." Alara moved to her communication terminal. "Computer, locate Emissary Liara." "Emissary Liara is currently in the Memorial Gardens, Level 7. The computer replied. "Perfect," Alara said. "The gardens are monitored but not recorded. We can speak freely there." As they prepared to leave, Kyle turned to her with an intensity that seemed to radiate from his metallic form. "Ambassador, if we discover treachery within the Council, the consequences could destabilize the entire Galactic Alliance." Alara nodded grimly. "And if we do nothing, we may lose everything our ancestors worked to build." The Memorial Gardens occupied an entire level of the Council Palace, a sprawling ecosystem showcasing plant life from hundreds of member worlds. Transparent tubes carried water in graceful arcs above visitors' heads, while anti-gravity platforms allowed specimens to grow in their natural orientations, regardless of Aurelia's gravitational field. Earth's section was modest compared to others, a small grove of oak trees surrounding a reflective pool where lotus flowers floated serenely. Alara felt a pang of homesickness as she breathed in the familiar sense of soil and vegetation. Liara was waiting for them, her spectral form hovering above the water's surface. In the garden's natural light, her features were more visible, vaguely humanoid, with elongated limbs and a cascade of what appeared to be tendrils flowing from her head like hair made of smoke. "Ambassador, General." Her voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "An unusual pairing." "Unusual times call for unusual alliances," Alara replied. Liara's form rippled, a gesture Alara had learned to interpret as amusement. "Indeed. Earth leaves. Steel and flesh conspire. The Council fractures along ancient fault lines." "We need your help," Alara said directly, knowing the spectral kind appreciated straightforwardness, despite their own cryptic nature. "The archives," Liara stated, rather than asked. "You seek what lies below." Kale's mechanical body tensed. "How did you know?" "The spectral perceive ripples in probability," Liara explained. "Events cast shadows forward and backward through time. Faint, distorted, but perceptible to those who exist between states of being." "Then you know why we need to access them," Alara pressed. Liara drifted closer, her form passing partially through the surface of the water without disturbing it. "I know that darkness grows beneath Aurelia's crystalline surface. I know that Earth's departure is both an ending and a beginning. But the specific threat? That remains unclear." "Will you help us?" Alara asked. The spectral emissary was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice had taken on a resonant quality that made the water vibrate beneath her. "The archives contain knowledge my kind has sought for millennia. I will help you gain access, but what we find there belongs to all, not just the Council elite." "Agreed," Alara said quickly, before Kale could object. "Knowledge should serve all sentient beings, not just those in power." Liara's form condensed slightly, becoming more substantial, a sign of commitment among her kind. "The lower archives are most active during Aurelia's night cycle, when most Council members rest. We should move then." "Active?" Kale questioned. "The archives are simply data repositories." Liara's form shimmered in what might have been the spectral equivalent of a laugh. "Steele thinks in such linear terms. The archives are memory crystals, General, and memories are never truly static." As the conversation concluded, Alara felt a mixture of hope and apprehension. They were committing to a course that could be considered treason against the Council she had sworn to serve. Yet if Earth's withdrawal was connected to something hidden within those ancient records, she had no choice but to discover the truth. "Tonight, then," she said, "when the third moon sets." As they left the garden separately to avoid suspicion, Alara glanced back at Earth's oak trees, strong, resilient, rooted in tradition yet always reaching upward. Whatever came next, she would need to embody those same qualities. The memory of her first arrival at the Council chambers flashed through her mind. 15 years ago, she had been a junior diplomat, wide-eyed and idealistic, believing that humanity's place among the stars was secure through cooperation and mutual respect. Now she questioned everything she had worked for. Peace Through diversity, she whispered to herself, repeating the council's motto. But what if that diversity was under threat? What if the peace was merely an illusion? The night cycle on Aurelia brought no true darkness. The planet's crystalline surface captured and refracted starlight, creating a perpetual twilight that bathed the landscape in soft, multicolored luminescence. Council activities slowed, but never entirely ceased, as many member species required little or no sleep. Alara changed into a utilitarian black jumpsuit, designed to minimize reflection and equipped with multiple hidden pockets. She secured her hair in a tight knot at the nape of her neck and wore only the simplest of her credentials, enough to justify her presence in most areas, but not so formal as to draw attention. At the appointed time, she made her way through the less-traveled corridors of the council palace, using her knowledge of shift changes and security protocols to avoid unnecessary encounters. The administrative levels were sparsely populated, with only occasional maintenance drones humming quietly as they went about their tasks. Kale was waiting at the designated meeting point, a maintenance hub near the central lift system. His metallic form had been dulled somehow, the usual gleaming surface now a matte, dark gray that absorbed rather than reflected light. "Ambassador," he acknowledged with a nod. "I have overridden the security protocols for the central shaft. We will have approximately 12 minutes before the systems reset." "Where's Liara?" Alara asked, glancing around the empty corridor. "Present," came the whisper-thin voice, though the spectral emissary remained invisible to their eyes. "I move ahead to ensure our path remains clear." The journey to the archives required descending beyond the public levels of the council complex, into the ancient foundation of the structure, a labyrinth of crystal passages that predated the council's establishment on Aurelia. As they descended in the maintenance lift, the modern amenities of the upper levels gave way to more primitive surroundings. The walls became rough-hewn crystal, unadorned by technology or art. "These passages were carved over 50,000 years ago," Kyle explained, his sensors scanning the surroundings. "Before the first council races achieved space travel. By the original Aurelians," Alara added. "A species we know almost nothing about, except that they vanished suddenly at the height of their civilization." The lift stopped with a gentle shudder. Before them stretched a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness above. Massive crystal columns, each as wide as an earth redwood tree, supported the unseen roof. Between them, smaller crystalline formations created a natural maze, their surfaces etched with symbols, unlike any known galactic language. "The archives themselves are deeper still." Liara's voice echoed around them, her form gradually materializing, like mist condensing from air. "But we are not alone here." Kale's internal systems hummed as his combat protocols activated. "Council security?" "No," Liara replied. "Something else. Something older." They moved cautiously through the crystal forest, following Liara's lead. The spectral emissary seemed to be following a path invisible to her companions, occasionally pausing to phase partially into the crystal formations, as if listening to something within them. "The crystals contain memories," she explained when Alara questioned her actions. "Not data as your kind understands it, but actual experiences, preserved at the quantum level." "How do we access them?" Alara asked. "We don't," Liara replied. "Not directly, but there is a chamber ahead, a nexus where the memories can be translated into forms perceptible to non-spectral minds." The path sloped gently downward, taking them deeper beneath Aurelia's surface. The ambient light dimmed, forcing Alara to activate the subtle luminescent strips in her jumpsuit. Kale's optical sensors adjusted automatically, while Liara's form provided its own ethereal glow. After what seemed like hours of careful navigation, they emerged into a vast circular chamber. Unlike the rough crystal formations above, this space had been precisely engineered. The walls were perfectly smooth, inscribed with spiraling patterns that seemed to move when viewed from the corner of the eye. At the center stood a dais supporting a structure that resembled a tree made of crystal, its branches extending upward and outward to touch the chamber's walls. "The memory nexus," Liara whispered reverently. "The heart of Aurelia's ancient consciousness." Alara approached the crystal tree cautiously. "How do we use it?" "Carefully," Liara warned. "The nexus responds to conscious thought. Focus too narrowly, and you will be overwhelmed by specifics. Too broadly, and you will be lost in generalities." "What should we focus on?" Kyle asked, his mechanical voice unusually subdued in the sacred space. Alara closed her eyes briefly, considering. Earth's withdrawal, the Council's secrets, the connection between them. She stepped onto the dais and placed her hand against the crystal trunk. The surface felt warm, almost alive beneath her touch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a pulse of light traveled up from the base of the tree, through the trunk, and into the branches. The light separated into thousands of individual strands, racing along the patterns inscribed on the chamber walls. Images began to form in the air around them, holographic projections, but with a depth and realism that exceeded any technology Alara had encountered. She saw council chambers, private meetings, secret transmissions, fragments of events spanning months, possibly years. "There's too much," she gasped, overwhelmed by the flood of information. "I can't process it all." "Narrow your focus," Liara instructed. "Find the thread that connects Earth to the Council's inner workings." Alara concentrated, picturing Julian Vox, the Earth delegation, the moment of their withdrawal announcement. The chaotic stream of images slowed, coalescing around a series of clandestine meetings between Julian and various council officials. "There," Kale said, indicating a particular projection. 3 months ago, Julian Vox meeting with Supreme Chairperson Zalix. The image expanded, and sound accompanied it. A conversation between the Earth Administrator and the highest authority in the Council. A being of pure light, whose true form was obscured by the radiant energy that composed their body. "Cannot allow the gateway to be activated," Julian was saying, his voice tense. "The consequences would be catastrophic for non-ethereal species. Your concerns are noted, Administrator." Zalix's voice was melodious, almost hypnotic. "But the dissolution gateway is merely a research project. Its practical applications are centuries from realization." "That's a lie." Julian's voice hardened. "We've seen the resource allocations, the secret test sites on Aurelia's dark side. The gateway is nearly operational." The projection shifted, showing another meeting, this time between Zalix and representatives of the light breeds. Their conversation was in their native tongue, a language of pure harmonic tones that the Nexus somehow translated into understandable words. "The impure races multiply too rapidly," one light being was saying. "They consume resources, pollute spaces that should remain pristine. The gateway offers a solution, a cleansing that will return the galaxy to its natural order." "A targeted dissolution," Zalix agreed, "affecting only those without the ethereal resonance. The solid races will never suspect until it's too late." Alara felt sick. "They're planning genocide, a weapon that would target any species not composed of energy or light. Humans, the steel people, the methane dwellers, the crystal hives." Kale listed, his mechanical voice flat. "All would be eradicated." "Earth withdrew to protect itself," Alara realized. "Julian discovered the plot and decided isolation was the only defense." "A foolish strategy," Liara commented, her form fluctuating with emotion. "The gateway's effect would reach across the galaxy once activated. Distance offers no protection." Another image formed, a schematic of a massive structure hidden within Aurelia's crystalline core. A series of concentric rings surrounded a central chamber, where energies could be focused and amplified through the planet's natural crystal matrix. "The dissolution gateway," Kale identified, using Aurelia itself as a weapon. We need to warn everyone, Alara said urgently. All the threatened species must unite against this. Who would believe us? Kyle countered. We have no proof beyond these projections, which only we have witnessed. The light breeds control the Council's communication systems. Any warning we send would be intercepted. Then we need to disable the gateway. Alara decided. The three of us, working together. Impossible, Kyle stated. The gateway is too well protected. We would need an army, and even then, success would be unlikely. Liara's form had grown very still, almost solid in her concentration. There may be another way, she said slowly. The ancient Aurelians built fail-safes into all their creations. The memory nexus may contain the key to neutralizing the gateway. She moved to the crystal tree and phased partially into it, her spectral form merging with the crystalline structure. The chamber darkened momentarily, then blazed with new light as information flowed from the nexus into Liara's consciousness. When she emerged, her form was more defined than Alara had ever seen it, as if the knowledge had somehow solidified her very being. The gateway draws its power from the cosmic rainbow, she announced. The same energy that allows interstellar travel also powers the dissolution effect. If we can reverse the rainbow's harmonic frequency at precisely the right moment, we can neutralize the gateway permanently. How? Alara demanded. The rainbow is controlled from the Council's highest security level. Not entirely, Liara replied. There is an access point within the rainbow itself, a maintenance hub located at the nexus of all pathways. From there, the entire system can be recalibrated. The heart of the rainbow, Kale said, recognition in his voice. I've heard it mentioned in security briefings, but its location is classified beyond even my clearance. I know the way, Liara assured them. The memory nexus has shown me, but we must move quickly. According to the time signatures in these projections, the gateway is scheduled for activation within 48 hours. Alara's mind raced. The Lightbreed's Ascension Ceremony. It's scheduled for tomorrow night, a celebration of their evolutionary journey from solid to energy beings. The perfect cover for activating the gateway. Then we have less than one planetary rotation to prevent galactic genocide, Kale concluded grimly. As they prepared to leave the memory nexus, Alara took one final look at the crystal tree, its branches now dim as the projections faded. What they had discovered changed everything. Her understanding of the Council, her role as chair, her perspective on Earth's withdrawal. We need to contact Earth, she said, as they retraced their steps toward the surface. Julian Vox needs to know we've discovered the truth and are working to stop the gateway. Too risky, Kale countered. Any communication could be intercepted. We must assume we are on our own until the threat is neutralized. Alara nodded reluctantly. As they ascended, the weight of their discovery pressed down on her. Billions of lives depended on their success. Yet they were only three against the powerful elite of the Council. The path ahead was unclear, fraught with danger and uncertainty. But one thing was certain. The galaxy stood on the precipice of either salvation or annihilation, and they were the only ones who could tip the balance. Reaching the heart of the rainbow would require traversing the interstellar tunnel system itself, a journey few had ever attempted outside the safety of transport vessels. The cosmic rainbow was not merely a transportation network. It was a living energy matrix that connected the member worlds of the Council. To travel within it, unprotected, was to expose oneself to the raw forces of dimensional transit. There is a maintenance portal in the lower hangar, Kale informed them, as they emerged from the archive levels. Used for deploying repair drones into the rainbow's internal structure. We can access it with my security overrides. How will we survive inside? Alara asked. The rainbow's energies would tear ordinary matter apart. I will protect you, Liara said. My spectral nature allows me to create a buffer zone, a pocket of stabilized space. But it will tax my strength considerably. We must move quickly once inside. The lower hangar was nearly deserted during the night cycle, with only automated systems maintaining the fleet of Council vessels. Kyle led them to an inconspicuous doorway at the far end of the vast chamber. This portal connects directly to the Rainbow's maintenance conduit, he explained, accessing the control panel with a series of complex commands. Once inside, we follow the conduit to the central nexus, the heart. The doorway slid open to reveal a narrow tunnel, bathed in pulsating rainbow light. Energy patterns flowed along its walls like liquid, constantly shifting in hue and intensity. "I will go first," Liara said, her form expanding to create a protective bubble around them. "Stay close. The barrier cannot extend far." They entered the rainbow, and Alara immediately felt the overwhelming power surrounding them. Without Liara's protection, she knew her physical form would have been instantaneously disintegrated. Even with the spectral shield, the pressure was immense, as if she were deep underwater. The maintenance conduit stretched before them, a transparent tube running parallel to the main rainbow throughway. Through its walls, Alara could see the massive energy streams that carried vessels between worlds, rivers of light flowing in complex patterns, intersecting and diverging like a cosmic circulatory system. "Beautiful," she whispered, momentarily captivated by the spectacle. "And deadly," Kyle reminded her. "We must remain within the conduit. Any breach would be fatal." They progressed slowly, Liara's protective field requiring constant adjustment as the rainbow's energies fluctuated around them. Occasionally, transport vessels would streak past in the main channel, their passengers unaware of the three figures making their precarious way through the maintenance system. "How much farther?" Alara asked, after what seemed like hours of careful progress. "The heart lies at the convergence of all rainbow pathways," Liara replied, her voice strained from the effort of maintaining the protective field. "We are approaching the outer ring now." Ahead, the conduit widened into a circular platform overlooking a vast spherical chamber. At the center hovered a crystalline structure resembling a many-faceted diamond, approximately 20 meters in diameter. Countless energy streams flowed into and out of the crystal from all directions, creating a three-dimensional web of light that filled the chamber. "The heart of the rainbow," Kale identified, "the central control node for the entire network." "And our only hope of stopping the gateway," Alara added. They stepped onto the platform, Liara's protective field extending to cover the space. Surrounding the platform were control stations designed for the maintenance drones, their interfaces displaying the complex energy patterns flowing through the heart. Kale moved to the primary station, his mechanical fingers dancing over the controls. "The system is even more sophisticated than our intelligence suggested. The harmonic frequencies are locked in multiple redundant patterns." "Can you override them?" Alara asked. "Not directly," Kale admitted. "But I may be able to create a cascading feedback loop that would force a system-wide recalibration." "And that would disable the gateway?" "In theory, yes. The gateway requires precise harmonic alignment to function. A system recalibration would disrupt that alignment permanently." As Kale worked, Alara studied the chamber, noting the intricate dance of energies flowing through the heart crystal. The beauty of it was breathtaking, a testament to the cooperative achievement of countless species working together. That such a marvel could be perverted into a weapon of mass destruction seemed almost sacrilegious. "Ambassador," Kale's voice interrupted her thoughts. "We have a problem." Alara turned to see a new holographic display above the control station, a security alert, showing their three figures on the platform. "We've been detected," Kyle said grimly. "How long until security forces arrive?" Alara asked. "Minutes at most. The rainbow allows for near instantaneous travel." Liara's form flickered, her strength clearly waning from the extended effort of protecting them. "We must complete our task quickly. I cannot maintain the barrier much longer." Kale returned to the controls, working with increased urgency. I need time to complete the recalibration sequence. Once initiated, it cannot be stopped. Then we'll buy you time, Alara decided, moving to a secondary control station. Liara, can you extend your perception through the rainbow? Tell us where the security forces are coming from? The spectral emissary's form stretched outward, tendrils of her essence extending into the energy streams surrounding the platform. Multiple vessels approaching from Council headquarters, light-breed security forces, heavily armed, and... She paused, her form contracting in apparent shock. Supreme Chairperson Zalix leads them personally. Alara's heart sank. Facing Council security would be difficult enough. Confronting the supreme authority of the Galactic Alliance was another matter entirely. We need a defensive strategy, she said to Kale. The maintenance systems include emergency containment protocols, he replied, without looking up from his work. Designed to isolate sections of the rainbow in case of energy surges or structural failures. Can we use them to slow down Zalix's forces? Possibly, but it would require manual activation at the containment junctions. Alara understood what that meant. Someone would need to leave the safety of the platform and venture into the rainbow's subsidiary conduits to trigger the containment systems. I'll go, she decided. Ambassador, no, Kyle objected. The risk is too great. We have no choice, Alara countered. You're the only one who can complete the recalibration. Liara must maintain the protective field. That leaves me. Before Kale could argue further, she turned to Liara. Can you extend a portion of your protective field around me? Just enough for a short excursion? Liara's form shimmered with uncertainty. I can create a temporary extension, but it will weaken the main barrier significantly, and the extension will dissipate quickly. You would have minutes at most before exposure to the rainbow's energies. That will have to be enough, Alara said grimly. Liara stretched her spectral essence, forming a bubble-like extension around Alara. Follow the conduit to the first junction, she instructed. The containment controls are located on the central pylon. Once activated, return immediately. The barrier will not last long. Alara nodded, trying to project a confidence she didn't entirely feel. How much longer for the recalibration, Kyle? 8 minutes to complete the sequence. Then approximately 3 minutes for the cascade effect to propagate through the entire network. I'll give you that time, Alara promised. She stepped into the subsidiary conduit, feeling the pressure of the rainbow's energies intensify as she moved away from the main barrier. Liara's extension held, but she could see it flickering around her, already beginning to weaken. The conduit curved away from the heart chamber, following one of the major rainbow pathways. Through its transparent walls, Alara could see vessels approaching, sleek, luminous crafts distinctive to the light breeds, moving with alarming speed toward their position. She reached the first junction, a nexus where multiple conduits converged. At its center stood a crystalline pylon inscribed with control interfaces. Alara activated the emergency panel, inputting the containment commands Kale had specified. The effect was immediate. Energy barriers materialized across several rainbow pathways, temporarily sealing them off. The approaching vessels would be forced to divert to secondary routes, buying precious minutes for Kale's work. As Alara turned to hurry back to the heart chamber, she saw Liara's protective extension beginning to fail, dissolving at its edges as the rainbow's raw energies pressed in. She quickened her pace, racing against the barrier's imminent collapse. She was halfway back when the extension failed completely. Instantly, the full force of the rainbow's dimensional energies engulfed her. Pain, unlike anything she had ever experienced, tore through every cell of her body. She felt herself beginning to dissolve, her physical form unraveling at the quantum level. Through sheer force of will, she continued forward, focusing on the heart chamber now visible ahead. Each step was agony, her body fighting against the fundamental forces, threatening to tear it apart. As she reached the edge of the platform, she felt herself falling. Strong mechanical arms caught her, Kale, extending beyond the main barrier to pull her to safety. Once inside Liara's protective field, Alara collapsed to the platform floor, her body traumatized but intact. Through blurred vision, she looked up at Kale. "The containment fields," she gasped. "Holding, but not for long," he replied. "I've completed the recalibration sequence. It's initiating now." The heart crystal began to pulse with changing frequencies, the surrounding energy streams shifting in response. Patterns that had flowed in one direction began to reverse, creating new configurations throughout the rainbow network. "It's working," Liara confirmed. Her perception still extended into the energy flows. "The harmonic resonance is inverting." Suddenly, the platform shook violently. Beyond the protective barrier, a new vessel had arrived, larger than the others, pulsing with intense white light that outshone even the rainbow's brilliance. "Zalix," Kale identified. The vessel docked against the platform, and a being of pure radiance emerged. Unlike the other light breeds, whose forms maintained vaguely humanoid proportions, Zalix appeared as a column of blindingly bright energy, constantly shifting and reforming. "Traitors!" Zalix's voice resonated through the chamber, bypassing their ears to vibrate directly in their minds. "You meddle with forces beyond your comprehension." Alara struggled to her feet, still weak from her exposure to the rainbow's energies. "We know about the dissolution gateway," she called out. "Your plan to eliminate all non-ethereal species." "Not elimination," Zalix corrected. "Evolution. The solid races are an evolutionary dead end, consuming resources, polluting environments, breeding without limit. The gateway offers ascension to those worthy, dissolution to those who are not." "Mass murder disguised as spiritual selection," Alara responded bitterly. "The Council was founded on principles of diversity and cooperation, not supremacy. Principles that have outlived their usefulness." Zalix's form flared brighter. "The gateway will activate within hours. Your pitiful attempt to disrupt the rainbow will fail." Behind her, Alara heard Kale's quiet voice. "The recalibration cascade has reached 60%. We need only minutes more." Zalix's radiant form surged against Liara's protective barrier, causing it to flicker dangerously. "Your spectral shield cannot withstand my power for long, creature. Surrender now, and perhaps your kind will be spared in the new order." Liara's form solidified further, her effort to maintain the barrier evident in every line of her now visible features. "The spectral kind remember when the light breeds were solid themselves," she responded defiantly. "Before your artificial ascension, you are not gods, Zalix. Merely the oldest children in the cosmic nursery, throwing a tantrum because others now share your toys." Zalix's attack intensified, rays of concentrated energy striking Liara's barrier from multiple angles. Cracks began to appear in the protective field, small fissures through which the rainbow's raw power seeped. 80%, Kale reported tensely. "Just a little longer." Alara looked around desperately for something. Anything that might help them withstand Zalix's assault. Her gaze fell on the control station where Kale had initiated the recalibration sequence. A secondary system remained active, the Rainbow's emergency pulse generator, designed to clear obstructions from the energy pathways. An idea formed in her mind, desperate, possibly suicidal, but their only chance. "Kyle," she said quietly, "if I redirect the emergency pulse through Zalix's vessel, would it disrupt their attack?" The general's optical apertures contracted in surprise. "Theoretically, yes. But you would need to be at the controls to maintain the targeting lock, outside the protection of Liara's barrier." "Then that's what I'll do," Alara decided. "Ambassador, no," Kyle objected. "The exposure would be fatal within seconds." "We have no choice," Alara replied. "The barrier is failing anyway. This gives us our best chance." Before either of her companions could stop her, Alara dove toward the control station, rolling beneath a particularly intense beam of Zalix's energy attack. The moment she left Liara's protective field, she felt the rainbow's forces begin to tear at her body once again. Ignoring the pain, she reached the emergency controls and activated the pulse generator. The system responded, a concentrated burst of rainbow energy forming at the edge of the platform. Alara fought to maintain consciousness as she input the targeting coordinates, locking the pulse onto Zalix's vessel. 95%, she heard Kale call out, his voice seeming to come from very far away. Zalix must have realized what she was attempting, for the Supreme Chairperson's attack suddenly redirected toward her. A lance of pure light struck near the control station, shattering the platform beneath Alara's feet. She clung to the console, her body now visibly degrading from exposure to the rainbow's energies. You cannot stop evolution, human, Zalix's voice thundered in her mind. Solid matter is destined to yield to energy. It is the universe's natural progression. Through the haze of pain, Alara managed to complete the targeting sequence. The emergency pulse launched, a concentrated sphere of rainbow energy streaking toward Zalix's vessel. It struck with devastating precision, engulfing the craft in a maelstrom of dimensional forces. Zalix screamed, a sound like crystal, shattering at the quantum level. The chairperson's radiant form fluctuated wildly, losing coherence as the pulse disrupted the energy patterns that composed their being. 100%, Kale announced triumphantly. Cascade complete. The rainbow's harmonic frequency is permanently inverted. From somewhere in the heart chamber came a distant sound, like the toll of an immense bell. The heart crystal pulsed once, twice, 3 times with brilliant light, then settled into a new pattern, its facets now glowing with colors reversed from their previous configuration. The gateway is neutralized, Liara confirmed. Her perception still extended through the rainbow network. Its energy matrix has collapsed. The weapon is useless. With the last of her strength, Alara turned to look at Zalix. The Supreme Chairperson's once radiant form had dimmed significantly, now barely brighter than an ordinary light breed. Freedom is not isolation, Alara managed to say, her voice weak but determined. And evolution is not uniformity. True strength lies in our connections, not our solitude. She felt herself falling, her body finally surrendering to the rainbow's destructive forces. The last thing she saw before consciousness faded was Kale rushing toward her, extending his metallic arms to pull her back into the safety of Liara's barrier. Darkness engulfed her, and with it came a strange peace. Whatever happened next, she had fulfilled her duty, both to humanity and to the greater galactic community that had become her home. When Alara awoke, she was surprised to find herself alive. She lay in the medical chamber of a council vessel, her body encased in a regenerative field that sparkled with minute particles of healing energy. "Welcome back, Ambassador," came a familiar mechanical voice. Alara turned her head to see Kale standing beside her bed, his metallic form once again polished to its characteristic blue steel sheen. "How?" she began, her voice hoarse. "Liara," Kyle explained. "She extended her spectral essence into your cellular structure, holding your quantum pattern together until we could get you to medical facilities. It nearly depleted her entirely, but she is recovering as well." Alara tried to sit up, wincing at the pain that still permeated her body. "Zalix? The council?" "In disarray," Kale replied. "Zalix survived but has been removed from authority pending investigation. The Lightbreed's plot has been exposed to all member worlds. The dissolution gateway has been dismantled, its components scattered across a dozen secure facilities. And Earth? Administrator Vox has withdrawn the withdrawal notice," Kale said, with what might have been a mechanical approximation of amusement in his voice. "When news of your actions reached Earth, public opinion overwhelmingly supported rejoining the Council. Julian was quick to adapt his position." Alara laughed weakly, then winced again at the pain it caused. Politicians are the same across the galaxy. It seems. Indeed. Kale's optical apertures contracted slightly, his species' version of a smile. But there have been significant reforms already. A new supervisory committee has been established to ensure transparency in all council operations. No single species will hold unilateral power again. Alara relaxed back onto the medical bed, processing this information. They had succeeded beyond what she had dared to hope. The immediate threat was neutralized, and the council itself was evolving toward a more equitable structure. There is more, Kale continued. Earth has proposed the establishment of an independent human forum, a bridge organization between Earth and the Council that would allow humanity to maintain its cultural autonomy while still participating in galactic affairs. And they want me to lead it, Alara guessed, recognizing the political maneuvering. The position has been offered, yes, Kyle confirmed, though you are under no obligation to accept. Alara considered the proposition. The Human Forum could represent a new model for council membership, one that respected the independence of member species while still fostering cooperation on matters of shared concern. Perhaps other races would establish similar arrangements, creating a more flexible, resilient galactic community. I'll need time to consider, she said finally. Of course. Kale moved toward the door. Rest now, Ambassador. There will be time for decisions later. As the general departed, Alara turned her gaze to the viewport beside her bed. Outside, the crystalline landscape of Aurelia glittered in the light of its 3 moons. Somewhere beneath that beautiful surface, ancient memories were preserved in crystal, both warnings and wisdom from a civilization long vanished. In the days that followed, Alara's recovery progressed rapidly, thanks to the advanced medical technologies of the Council. Liara visited often, her spectral form growing steadily more substantial as she too regained her strength. The spectral emissary had been granted unprecedented access to the memory nexus as reward for her role in exposing the Gateway plot, fulfilling her kind's millennia-long quest for the knowledge contained there. 1 week after the confrontation in the heart of the Rainbow, Alara stood once again in the Galactic Council chamber. The assembly was incomplete. Many delegations were still in transition following the revelation of the Lightbreed's conspiracy. Zalix and the most implicated Lightbreed leaders had been confined to their homeworld, pending further investigation. The mood was somber, but hopeful, a sense of renewal permeating the historic space. Alara had accepted temporary authority as acting chair, tasked with guiding the council through this period of reformation. As she took her place at the central podium, she noted the Earth delegation had returned in full force, with Julian Vox conspicuously absent. In his place sat Director Helena Shaw, the woman who had first alerted Alara to the hidden threat within the council. Distinguished delegates, Alara began, her voice stronger than she felt. We gather today at a turning point in our shared history. The events of recent days have tested the very foundation of our alliance, exposing both weaknesses and unexpected strengths. The chamber was silent, all attention focused on her words. For 3 millennia, the Council has stood as a beacon of interstellar cooperation. That light dimmed temporarily, but it was not extinguished. Together, we have prevented a catastrophe that would have forever altered the composition of our galaxy. She paused, looking around at the diverse assembly, beings of all forms and compositions, united by their shared commitment to coexistence. The reforms now underway will ensure no single species can again threaten the whole. But beyond structural changes, we must examine the philosophical underpinnings of our alliance. What does it mean to be united? Must unity require uniformity? Can we honor both our shared values and our distinct identities? From the Earth delegation, Helena Shaw nodded approvingly. Alara continued, her conviction growing with each word. The proposed human forum represents one possible model, a bridge organization that allows for both independence and interconnection. Perhaps other member worlds will develop similar arrangements, creating a more flexible, resilient galactic community. General Kyle, now officially appointed as head of Council Security, stood at attention near the chamber entrance. His metallic form gleamed under the lights, a symbol of the Steel People's renewed commitment to the alliance they had helped forge generations ago. "We stand at a crossroads," Alara concluded. "The path we choose now will determine not just our own future, but that of countless generations to come. I believe we can build something stronger than what came before, a true community of worlds, bound not by fear or force, but by mutual respect and genuine cooperation." The assembly erupted in applause, a cacophony of sounds as each species expressed approval in their own manner. Even the light-breed representatives who had remained loyal to the Council's principles joined in, their forms pulsing with measured luminescence. As the formal session concluded, Alara found herself surrounded by well-wishers and supporters. The path ahead would not be easy. Rebuilding trust never was. But the foundation had been laid for a more transparent, equitable galactic alliance. Later that day, she stood in the departure bay, watching as the first vessel of the newly established Human Forum prepared to depart Aurelia. The sleek ship would carry messages of hope and reconciliation back to Earth, along with detailed proposals for the Forum's structure and operations. Helena Shaw approached, extending a small, crystalline object. "A token of appreciation from Earth," she explained, "and a symbol of our continued commitment to the greater galactic community." Alara accepted the gift, a miniature replica of the cosmic rainbow, its prismatic pathways captured in perfect detail within the crystal. "It's beautiful," she said sincerely. "As is the real thing," Helena replied, "now more secure than ever, thanks to you and your allies." "Will you lead the Forum?" Alara asked directly. Helena shook her head. "That position awaits your return, Ambassador, when you're ready. For now, I'll serve as interim director, establishing the basic framework." "And Julian?" "Reassigned to a diplomatic outpost in the Oort Cloud," Helena said with a hint of satisfaction. His methods were questionable, but his intentions were sound. He did what he thought necessary to protect Earth. Alara nodded, understanding the complex motivations that had driven the Earth Administrator's actions. Fear could lead even the most principled individuals to isolationist thinking. As the Forum vessel prepared for departure, Alara composed a final message to be carried back to Earth, her home planet, though it sometimes felt distant after her years among the stars. "The day mankind departed the Galactic Council was the day the universe awakened," she wrote. "Not to our absence, but to our courage, not to our isolation, but to our integrity. In temporarily stepping away, we forced a reckoning that might otherwise have never come." She paused, considering her next words carefully. "Now we return, not as supplicants, but as equals, not as followers, but as partners in shaping a more just and diverse cosmic community." The Human Forum will stand as testament to a simple truth: that true unity need not erase uniqueness, that genuine community must honor individuality. The greatest strength of any alliance lies not in how it homogenizes its members, but in how it harmonizes their differences. She sealed the message crystal and handed it to the vessel's captain. As the ship departed, its engines igniting in a beautiful cascade of blue-white energy, Alara felt a presence beside her. Liara had materialized, her spectral form now permanently more substantial than before, a lasting effect of her deep communion with the memory nexus. "You're not returning with them?" the spectral emissary asked. "Not yet," Alara replied. "There's still work to be done here. The Council's reformation has only just begun." "And after?" Liara pressed. "Will you choose Earth or Aurelia, the Forum or the Council?" Alara smiled, turning her gaze upward to where the cosmic rainbow's entry point glowed against Aurelia's crystal sky. A gateway not to dissolution, but to connection. "Perhaps I don't need to choose," she said. "Perhaps my place is in between, where different worlds meet. After all, isn't that where the most interesting possibilities always emerge?" Liara's form rippled in what Alara had come to recognize as agreement. Together, they watched as the Forum vessel entered the rainbow, its form briefly illuminated in prismatic light, before disappearing into the vast interstellar network that bound their worlds together, different yet connected, separate yet united. In that moment, Alara understood that the universe was neither ending nor beginning, but simply continuing its eternal dance of separation and reunion, of individuation and integration. The true challenge, for beings of all compositions, was finding the balance between independence and interconnection, a lesson humanity and the Council were now learning together. The cosmic rainbow pulsed overhead, stronger than ever in its new configuration, and somewhere within its shimmering pathways, the future was taking shape, not as a single, predetermined destiny, but as a constellation of possibilities, waiting to be explored.